Hello and welcome everybody to the UK National Championships. I am Dan Tripp of Push the Point, and I'm joined by none other than, well, introduce yourself to the audience at home.
Well, thank you, Dan Tripp.
Yeah,
My name's Sean Cherry of Push the Point. So we're coming to you live from Leeds Armory.
Yeah, we are in Leeds. We're back in Leeds. First ever UK Nationals was in Leeds, in the Royal Armoury. We are back at the Royal Armoury. It's in a slightly different venue this year, but man, it is lush. If you haven't seen it, check it out on Twitter. Very, very pretty venue, but we've got a fantastic first round coming up for you. We have none other than George Rogers, UK National Champion, round one, playing Phi. And who are they up against, Sean?
They are up against Liam Canning, running Lexi.
It's gonna be a quick one.
Hold on to your hats, folks.
I'm just gonna ease you in gently with a nice spicy little aggro game here. Well, who knows what these heroes could be doing, as we always say, but pretty high chance we're gonna see pretty aggressive matchup here between Phi and Lexi.
Absolutely. And hopefully we get a little clip here in just a moment of the King of England, George.
Well, I don't know if you guys have seen George Rogers. You haven't. You're at home. How could you have seen? You're not watching it here. Oh,
there he is.
Look at this.
Look at the King of England.
Did you know that George is actually the King of England, and this is his crown? This is the man we worship in the United Kingdom. We are united because of this very man right here, George Rogers, wearing a very dapper crown and cloak.
Yeah, and if you ask me, long live the king.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I think, there's always room for change, Sean. There's always room for change.
Never say never.
Never say never, but we've got a great game coming up. I think, George has been playing Phi now for a long time. He played Phi at the last UK Nationals. He played Phi at the Calling. He bubbled the Calling, coming 9th. This is some cards to account for. One of these in particular, Warmonger's Diplomacy, going to be pretty interesting to play up against a Lexi. But of course, just having a good below zero pitch, because George does love to play the Kadachis.
Absolutely.
And then Lava Burst, great. But these other two cards, just good finishes, right?
Oh, that Salt the Wound, is an absolute menace.
Yeah.
I mean, coming on the end of a combat chain is, it just really punches through, doesn't it?
And especially when you're playing a Kadachi build, when you're hitting with those little Kadachis for 1, very unlikely to be blocked. It just means that Salt the Wounds is often coming in as a 0 for 4. And often a lot more because of the Phoenix Flames and the little bits of damage that you manage to get through. So if you can get that in at the end, especially on an Art War turn or something like that, we've seen Salt the Wounds come in for 7 damage, and we actually saw in the Calling, I think it was a Salt the Wounds come in for big numbers off the Shiko trigger, and then unfortunately Oasis Respite was played against that Salt the Wounds, could not be prevented, and a ton of damage went through, and it just completely shifted that game. So we might see something like that again today. With Phi, but Phi's doing basic stuff, going very wide. Let's have a little look at what Lexi's trying to do. Kind of similar stuff, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Now that Voltaire, I mean, just being able to tap that twice, load up the arsenal.
It's the only, it's one of the few weapons left from Telsvara. Every other one has been banned or is gone. Or
is due to.
Well, Rosetta's on the way out. The Icy Hammer we lost that too. So Voltaire's one of the last ones standing. Just the ability to give stuff go again twice is really strong. But then we got Codex of Frailty. That's this new card from, well, not really new anymore, is it? It's been around for a while from outsiders. Just card draw, right?
Absolutely. And 3 of a kind as well. Card draw.
Yeah.
Can't argue against
the
it.
OG Arcane Rising Ranger card, we all saw it and we thought, well, it's going to be really good one day. And it turns out it's really good, especially in a go-wide hero like Lexi that can give stuff go again.
Absolutely. We're going to be moving over to our very first game. And I should say as well, George Rogers actually won the UK Nationals last year with Phi as well.
Yeah, you'd hope that he won it, considering he's literally dressed like a king. I think that's a bit of a bold statement if you didn't win the last Nationals. But it is setting a precedent that if you win it, maybe, you got to dress like that next year. So we'll see. We've got the game incoming. It's been with this first game of the day. We've got 3 rounds of CC coming for you. These games are really good for getting you like a good placement in the draft and just setting yourself up for a really strong day. Obviously, draft a big important part of Nationals, but these early games of CC are going to be really important to get your. You don't really want to. There's a few people that go around saying like maybe you want to take a loss to get an easier draft pod. I don't necessarily think that's the attitude. I think you want to try and go in all guns blazing, get as many wins under your belt as you can before you get into the draft.
I mean, you call yourself a champion.
Yeah,
playing games like that, you just got to power through. But get the wins under your belt.
Traditionally, you'd be like, well, this is a pretty difficult matchup for Phi. Like Lexi is a very, very aggressive deck, can push really big numbers, but so can Phi. And George is, he's shown that he can take Phi to the top levels of tournaments in the past.
Absolutely.
And we see here game starting to begin. George got his national championship playmat, of course, and Liam using the provided Living Realms playmat. A lovely playmat from Living Realms. Living Realms being, of course, the organizers of this tournament. They organized the calling Birmingham as well, and they have organized national championships. This national championship and the first ever UK national championships as well. Big name in Flesh and Blood in the UK, probably one of the biggest name really, organising Flesh and Blood in the UK, doing very well.
Yeah.
Well known for their well organised and well timed tournaments. And we're not just saying that because they're good pals of ours.
No, absolutely not. And I mean, the calling Birmingham went down without a hitch. It was absolutely spectacular.
Yeah, and we're delighted to be back to be able to cast another tournament after the calling Birmingham. We had great feedback from the calling, and we were really excited to come back at you again. Of course, Hamish and Simon of Push the Point are playing today. Depending on how well they do, we'll see how that turns out tomorrow. They may be joining us. We're just seeing a nice classic dice roll here. Liam winning it. And so in an aggressive game, Sean, would you be wanting to go first or second? Like, what do you think?
Oh, I mean, fire right. Always go first. Is that the right approach? I mean, I think if this game is going to be fast, you just gotta go straight to the face.
Yeah, I think you want to. You going second is normally pretty decent. We'll see what Liam decides to do. Liam might decide to go first just to set up a strong Arsenal and get some cards in the Arsenal. Obviously, Lexi, if you're not familiar with the hero, allows you to have 2 Arsenal zones, so you can build really big hands and access to a lot of go again and a lot of card draw.
Yeah.
So Liam
Brandish
putting George
in here.
going first just sort of dents a little bit of the aggression and kind of gets a free block.
Brand with Cinderclaw for 2. Little Kodachi. A lovely Phi Kodachi, I should say, as well. Fiery Kodachi.
Yeah, so this is a nice little interaction here from Phi because the Brand of Cinderclaw will make the Kodachi a draconic attack, and Phi's whole thing is being able to get to essentially you want to get to 3 draconic attacks. That lets you pull a Phoenix Flame from your graveyard, and you can start the game with Phoenix Flame in the graveyard, add it to your hand, and then you can play it. And that will it's just a little attack for 1, but it's just a little bit of additional damage on a turn. So we may see George fetch a Phoenix Flame here, or he may play out another Draconic card so he can play it for free. He's probably just thinking about how much he wants to commit on this turn 1, knowing that Liam could just block out and then redraw because it's the first turn of the game.
And Trip, what would you say is the significance here of Lexi's, of the equipment that Liam's brought to the game? We see it's not a tunic. We have a trench,
which is a good way to play around Warmonger's diplomacy, because there's a little bit of a weird thing with Warmongers where you can essentially like lock Lexi's Arsenal if they have a face down card in Arsenal, because they can't do much. They can't use their Lexi ability or and various things. So
and there it is.
So
we see a Warmonger's come in.
But interesting that George decided to push the Warmongers there. Push the Mounting Anger there rather than Arsenal the Mounting Anger. So decided to push a little bit of damage there, really respecting the fact that this is an aggressive matchup, needs to push some damage, knowing that he's got the disruption of Warmongers. Liam choosing War, that means that they will only be able to use attacks and their weapon, won't be able to use anything else. Thanks for joining us in the chat, Mark, founder of Draft Fab. Check that out. And Towering Titan. Great to see you, Towering Titan. Hope everything is going well with you.
I see Quinn is in the chat as well. Teammate of George Roger. I'm sure we'll be cheering him along all day. And we have here coming in
It's a searing shot.
Searing shot.
Just the blue though.
Just a cheeky blue searing shot.
So just opening up with the blue. Looks like there is a little bit more gas in the tank.
Here we go.
And just follow up with the
drill shot.
And looks like Liam has the 3 of a kind in hand, so he's probably just going to keep that.
We've got a block from the thermal scale furnace here as well. So using up the equipment block.
I think that's because the drill shot will put Oh no, it wasn't. Yeah, we're just getting the equipment block, saving a little bit of life there.
Hmm.
And doesn't look like George has run into any problems. Of
Ronan.
course, with Warmonger's diplomacy, obviously it does affect you as well. But as Fi, you're almost always playing attacks. So by choosing war, you're never in too much trouble. And George knows that even if he drew into a Rise from the Ashes, which is probably the only non-attack he runs apart from Warmongers, he can just arsenal it. Maybe a reason why he decided to keep the arsenal open, because he knew that if he drew into, like he has actually just done now,
So we have the attack reaction.
he can get that into the arsenal and not get it stuck in his hand or have to pitch it when he wants to be playing these powerful non-attacks that have disruptive effects. So a good start from George. He's drawn into another.
See an E-strike in that hand as well.
Might just pitch this here. He's got an on hit and he's got some good power cards in hand. So going to come with the Kodachis here. So decides to pitch the Warmongers, gets the blue that he needs to play out this hand because it looks like there's a mounting anger. So that blue there converting into basically an additional 6 damage here, because he was a bit resource starved until he drew into that blue off the Ancestral Empowerment.
So we've got 2 resources floating. 32 plays 31. And like we said, this is opening up. We're 4 minutes into the game and already players have lost a quarter of their life totals.
Liam,
George having a think here. As we can see, the E-strike is in hand. So
the thing is here is that he has hit. I think the Kodachi went through. So if he does hit here with the mounting anger, he will draw from Mask of Momentum, and then he could potentially then push the E-strike at the end because it will give him another card in hand with which to sync with the E-strike, which is the additional cost of paying the E-strike. But he might be tempted to just go for the Arsenal, or might be tempted to just E-strike here and push a lot of damage.
Do you think George here is aware that Liam's potentially got a big answer to this turn? He's not blocked anything. We've got.
I know. I don't think so, because I think at this point you're probably not blocking the first attack, especially at the start of the game where there's 3 ancestrals still in play.
Yeah.
And here we go, as George does block this out. And now, Liam does block this out, which was good because the draw was going to enable a lot of additional damage.
Yeah. Takes 1 more from the Kodachi.
And George gets full use of his resources there by playing them out in anger and to develop an arsenal.
Yeah, and Arsenal's the E-strike.
Yeah.
Sets up nicely for the next turn. Okay, let's see what response Liam has.
Liam has a very big turn here, though, with the
there it is.
And it's interesting, if George had actually played out that Warmongers would have shut down this turn, because Liam wouldn't have been able to play a non-attack and an attack this turn, but it would have just delayed the inevitable a little bit. I think actually using the Warmongers to push an additional 6 damage was a good move.
Okay, so 3 of a kind here means that Liam can only play cards
from the Arsenal.
The Arsenal. So and he uses the resource to Arsenal from Voltaire.
Yeah, he is gonna maybe have a little bit of
what have we got coming in here?
Resource problems here, but we'll see how it goes.
Okay. So coming in with the searing shot.
Actually, I think that's a heat seeker, not a searing shot. They do look very similar.
We see eagle eyes there.
Yeah, we do see that George has the Flick Flax in deck, which I really, really like. Even in Fi, it's still a defense react for 4, and you do sometimes run some of the blue combo cards.
And George has thrown his furnace at this. That's the last use of the furnace, I believe.
Yeah, which is good because Heat Seeker, when it does hit at the end phase, you could put top card of your deck face up into Arsenal, which George wants to avoid. It's a relevant on hit for George to be blocking with his equipment.
And then we have Drill Shot coming in for 6. Just wait for that to appear on the screen.
I don't think it is a drill shot because it's a majestic. Drill shot. Hard to see with the dice on it. It is another heat seeker. So is it
double heat seeker?
Double heat seeker.
Okay.
So George decides to commit to this, but he does have the E-strike, so he does have a good slapback turn here, even with a small number of cards in hand, especially if he's got He's got an E strike and an E strike in Arsenal. So we'll see how he plays this one out. Might just choose to whack for 7 here, probably.
And Arsenal the other
commit
one?
the Arsenal because he doesn't want to draw because he's already got a card in hand. Yeah.
Here we go. Simple.
Yeah, and
Simple and easy.
In a game like this, where this is a 2-card play, where you're keeping a card in Arsenal, it's not as flashy as stuff that Fi can do. But considering that George essentially shut down that previous turn, blocking out both the Heat Seekers, preventing essentially a card draw, putting a card face up into Arsenal at the end of turn, being able to push 7 here, and Liam takes it, which is
it's efficient. It's an efficient E-strike.
Yeah, but it's putting Liam down into the kind of life range where Fi can actually deal 23 damage, and George actually has a pretty decent buffer here of 32 health, which to deal with some stuff. And we see a little
premeditate.
A interesting hand. Yeah, okay, so a little bit of a read there from Liam. You did see Liam sort of look through the grave, which is often a very good indicator that he does have the Codex of Frailty, which he does. George is probably someone's going to pick up on that. Not really any reason for Liam to be looking through his grave this early on in the game, counting arrows. So George probably gets the read there that there may be a Codex coming.
So George here taking
7, getting the Ponder token.
7 plus 1. So we see that it's an additional on hit of the searing shot as well, lose life. And absolutely, Aaron, we are merely referring to George by his
not my king, Aaron. Not my king.
By his given name rather than.
We're seeing again. This is an interesting one because Liam's already developed the Ponder, so the Ponder from the. I guess you can do some. No, you need the face-up card in Arsenal. So
Codex coming in.
And then just going to come in with another Heat Seeker.
As we said, that Codex before the game, card to watch.
George deciding to block this out, which is good. But George now down to 24 health. The life totals have shifted round, and clearly George not got the hand with which to push a really, really big turn.
But again, we know what's in Arsenal. It's an E-strike. It's essential. It's extremely efficient. Expecting this to come in for 7 here.
Do bear in mind that if it's played from the Arsenal, it will get -1 from the Frailty.
Oh.
So yeah, George is going to save it.
Okay.
Rather than push, and let's say an E-strike for 4, draw a blind card, he's just going to push a Rising here for 3.
Yeah. We can see Rain Razors there in Liam's hand.
Thing is, it looks like it's a Rain and 3 reds. So again, resource problems. Because this is the thing about Lexi is you do need a pitch card to activate Voltaire. The 1 cost of Voltaire is relevant. You do need to have a blue. And often your arrows do cost 1. So if you don't have a pitch card, it can be a little bit tricky to actually play out the turn. So we're going to see what Liam's going to do here. I don't think he's going to be able to play the Rain Razors. He's probably going to have to pitch it here. So, no. Oh, it is a blue. He does have a blue. Okay.
Oh.
Ignore everything I just said, because we do have a nice tasty blue, and we're going to see the Falcon Wing come in for 4. Falcon Wing already itself has go again, Sean. So you can just give it the free buff from Voltaire. You can also give it +1, and he is of course going to play the Rain Razors. So this is a pretty aggressive turn here.
Yeah, and we know. I mean, George has been pretty. I guess defensive this last couple of rounds. He's just simply blocked with 3 cards, played out an E-strike, and then in the last round was able to just play 1 card from hand.
Would it be
Liam's going wide here? Yeah,
he's going really wide. He knows that he's pushing big damage, going to get the Codex.
Codex as well.
He actually pushed 7 damage. Oh, and is that GG? Was that the end? We've gone for no. We cut to a winning screen there. The game is still ongoing. Yeah.
Okay.
We saw an insight into the future there, Sean.
I think so.
But we are still playing.
Maybe we're too hasty on declaring George a winner here.
Yeah, we jumped ahead a little bit here. Obviously, George just blocked out as much as he could, getting onto 11 health. Liam then playing another turn out here. A little bit of a skip there. So we are back in with Liam on 20, George on 11. So George taking a ton of attack from the Rain Razor's turn there, and just coming back with a Rising Resentment, I think it is. So just slight technical difficulties there. Sorry about that. Just back
Easing
in the
into
game
the
now,
day.
though.
We're warming up voices. We're
Yeah.
warming up the systems.
It's keeping you guys on your toes, right?
Yeah.
Just predicting
Firing
the future.
up all
Exactly.
engines.
But Fine is doing a lot of blocking here. George just trying to keep a card in Arsenal so that he can clap back with a big hand, but he's running out of space to do that.
Absolutely.
Very low health, and Liam with a lot of cards.
For sure. And although he is doing a lot of blocking, he still took a lot of damage in that last I guess throw of arrows from Liam.
He didn't block the first arrow that ended up coming in for 6, and then followed up with 2 more arrows for sort of 6 and 7. I think it was 7 and 7 maybe. With relevant on hits, getting cards, being able to get cards into Arsenal. Yeah, it is raining Renegade early, not Rising Resentment. These 5 cards, man, they look the same.
Yeah.
So George trying to make something happen here. Does actually get a good card for the Arsenal, a flip flag there. So gonna get that down. But it's at this point actually maybe the flip flag is what you need. You need to be able to pivot into something. And he does actually have a combo card. Blue combo card, so he can block for 4 and 5 this turn, so can potentially do some work. But looks like Liam actually has the goods here. We will see how he chooses to develop this turn.
So Trip, do you think at this stage then, are we seeing the king on the ropes?
Yeah, definitely. The thing is that George needs a little bit of health in order to push through like a massive turn with like I'm not sure necessarily run the Art of Wars into Lexion. I think maybe you do, maybe you don't. But you know, Fi can push 20 damage turns for some blocks from the Lexi, but with 11 health, it's really difficult. If Lexi just develops sort of like a couple of arrows every turn, you can do some work here. And this all kind of leads back to that turn where George decided to pitch the Warmonger's Diplomacy to go Kadachi Mounting Anger, rather than play a Warmonger's Diplomacy out, where Liam did have a 3 of a kind in Arsenal, would have shut down that 3 of a kind, maybe would have given him a bit more breathing room to develop something in this game. But that's the call you got to make. 6 damage is 6 damage. It's hard to say no to that.
Absolutely. And we see an infecting shot coming in here. Now, again, if this hits, there's another 2 damage coming from a
and Fine really
pox.
doesn't have the might have to commit Mask here to block this, but I think Liam...
And having to commit the mask because he doesn't have the the life total as a resource to enable this.
Gonna try and bait out a Rain Razors here, because he will have this covered with the Flick Flack from Arsenal.
And the Rain Razors here, significance of that then is that the Bolton shot that's Liam's Arsenal here is then also going to get the pump. It's going to get the go again. So Liam again really coming in with.
He's got another bolt. He's actually got an incredible hand here because he's got another Bolton shot in hand. Going to block this out for 5 though. The Flick Flack here doing work.
Feels like the king has wandered out into no man's land at this stage.
Yeah, and coming in for 5 here. Another 5 damage off a blue as well. Really, really good value here off this blue. It's just the decision point where you got to decide whether you want to keep your maybe block with 1 Arsenal 1, but then you're just letting Lexi have another big turn. We have seen 2 Rain Razors now.
2 Rain Razors, 2 Codex, and 3 of a kind so far.
Yeah, still lots of good cards left in Liam's deck. He's been getting good work out of these like yellow and blues Bolton shots on the Rain Razor's turn, making those cards work for him. Do you see another 3 of a kind there? And it looks like a Falcon Wing, so gonna be able to maybe do some stuff here.
And the life totals now
and a blue.
9 to 17. This is over to Liam to fire off another volley of arrows. Delightful venue. Delightful venue.
Yeah, we can see some of the other players in the background. Lovely shot here. Great job, Tabletop 24. Excellent setup. Beautiful shot here of some of the other players in the background.
I see Alex cheating in the background there.
Yeah, hopefully a win for our good friend Alex. So we're going to see another Bolton shot come down. Again, the +1 giving it go again. We do see another Flick Flack. So George is scrapping here. He's pushing damage as well. Has got Liam down to 17.
Not going
but
down
he's
without a fight.
really on the back foot. It's whether he can regain control of this game, and Fi can do that if you give Fi any amount of space. If Liam leaves Fi with a hand, it could be pretty difficult. We are going to see a lot of cards drawn here, though.
Another 3 of a kind.
That's going to set him up for next turn. He's not going to be able to play that because he can only play cards from the arsenal. He's already used Voltaire once, so this is actually a little bit. But
it's got
awkward.
the resources.
Just how does he get the cards into the arsenal? This is where something like Bullseye Braces would have been really useful to just enable another card in the arsenal, but didn't quite manage to do that. And also the maybe was hoping that the Bolton shot would hit so that he could reload with it. But George sort of saw that one and
so we see a pitch to quiver there.
Yeah, to get a really good card, a really good card off the quiver there.
And George responds with a almost head in hands at this stage.
A red card there is really good for Liam, allowing him to now push lethal damage.
Yeah, so Falcon Wing coming in for 4.
That was pretty clutch, actually, off the quiver there. Because
But
before that, he
for.
was just going to push like a bit of damage here. Maybe George could have kept some cards in hand.
And that's exactly why Liam has
Not his
brought
game.
the quiver
Not his game.
to the game. 9 plays 17. Players exchanging. A laugh and a joke. Whilst inevitably, George is rather feeling the pinch here. So, we have a Falcon Wing for 4. George having a think. It's awfully quiet in the venue.
It's a lot of players still playing. We're only, we're already 20 minutes into this game. It's always going to be a fast and aggressive one, but actually George was sort of the first person to start blocking, to start defending, and that's given Liam a lot of space to maneuver here in this kind of aggro matchup. And we're probably going to see another block here from George. I think George kind of just wants to keep a little bit more life. He's still got his mask up. So kind of on 11 health.
Was he insinuating a block there or a use of...
This suggests to me that maybe George is going to try and keep a hand here. He's going to take this all. Yeah,
he recognizes
so this
that
is his
he's
turn.
gonna. Yeah,
he's
trying.
He needs to get
that.
some blocks here from Lexi. Otherwise, he's in big trouble. Gone down to 2, I believe. I think the life totals might not have updated yet because he did take that big 5 from Liam. So this is it. This is opportunity. Maybe he's on. He's on 2. So
This is the clap back.
he needs to get so he doesn't have his mask anymore, which is a shame. Unfortunately, because of that red off the top with the quiver, kind of meant that George had to give up his mask, which is going to really dent his ability to deal damage on this turn because he really needs that mask draw.
So double strike comes in, deals 2 damage, and then immediately comes in for another 2.
Just 1.
1.
1 and 1.
1 and 1.
And then coming with the 4. This would have been a really good turn to have mask. It's a bit of a shame. That's the power of that quiver, as Sean was saying. So it's a good turn here, right? This is pushing a bunch of damage. But it doesn't look like
and has
it's
had to
gonna be
pitch for it.
enough.
So George is really able to go a bit.
The trouble is as well is that he's only on Draconic Chainlink 2, so he's not actually able to fetch a Phoenix Flame at the moment. I'm pretty sure the last card in hand is a Snatch. So he's going to probably just play this out.
What would you want that last card to be, Mr. Dantrip? That last card.
I wouldn't want it to necessarily be anything. I'd want to still have my Mask of Momentum at this point because that requires Liam to commit a block. Maybe he gives up, he could give up a bit of equipment instead, but I think he's considering it, which, well, how dare you say that, DT?
DT.
You have my initials, so I think that, it's, when you were trying to push it was about 17 points of damage, wasn't it? 1-1 and 4, so 6, so it was on 6, 18 maybe. You really need the mask to try and get them down to enough where they're blocking, because the mask will commit a block, will force a block, and then maybe you can get another card out of their hand. But with George sitting on 2, this is basically the last big hand of the game that he's gonna get. So it's looking really tough. what would I want the last card to be? I mean, I guess Salt the Wound would be pretty good. I imagine that's what Liam's considering, but he's kind of safe from that anyway.
Using his life as a resource here. Snatch.
And this is pretty awkward because he doesn't even need to block this because the draw is going to get inertiaed out, right? So you inertia, you shuffle your arsenal. So it's like that card that he got off the top with the quiver was so good against George. He can't even develop an arsenal here. It says that George is on 1. Oh yeah, because of the block from the Ranger arms. So he takes 1 from that. This is going to be so. It's looking tricky. It's looking tricky. I wish we could double strike for 2 and 2.
You can when you double refers to 2. Tell me I'm wrong. Okay, 3 of a kind.
So guys, when you're on 1 health against Lexi and they just play a 3 of a kind, what's the thoughts going in your head? Maybe it's I wish I wasn't wearing a crown. But apart from that,
I feel
it's gonna
I wish I didn't come in fancy dress.
But it just shows the power of Lexi here. Any of these aggressive matchups, when you're forced to block, when you don't get the cards you need. George did have some good disruption with the Warmonger's diplomacies, but it just didn't happen at the right time. Art of War came up at the wrong time, so he did have the Art of Wars in deck. That is crazy, so he didn't get into any of those.
And Liam has seen all of his power cards here. We've seen, 2, 3 of a kinds now?
GG's.
We've seen...
And that's it.
There it is.
And Liam taking round 1, George. Champions getting defeated by Lexi. What a game. It just felt like Fi started off going first, got put going first, which is not really what you want to be doing as an aggressive deck. But he did play out the Warmonger's diplomacy, was able to disrupt the Lexi a little bit. But when he drew into the second one, decided to pitch it to go Kadachi, Mounting Anger, which I actually think probably was a good move. When you don't know, we in the casting booth, we know that they had the 3 of the kind in Arsenal. We would have shut that down. But for how long? They're just going to leave it there, right?
Exactly.
Lexi. To the booth now, we can look at our beautiful faces.
There we are.
Oh, how is everybody doing? What a game! What a game! But George can do the old Pablo trick, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Submarine, get himself in. Like, I was just saying, you want to win every game. No, you don't want to do that, right? You want to get a nice easier draft, right?
Absolutely.
So, it's not the end of the day. I hope you guys enjoyed that first game. What a classic! Fi, the big hero of the sport, was the winner on the day, Mark. Yes, it was. The spectacle of the game was the winner today in Flesh and Blood. So, but what we saw there, Sean, we saw the hero of last year's Nationals, which was in the UK, Fi, because the whole UK Nationals was won by George Rushton and Fi, coming up against the hero of this year's Nationals, which is Lexi. People love their Lexi.
And we've seen that she's been doing really well throughout this national season, right?
Yes.
She's just been... Absolutely, she's been accumulating living legend points at every opportunity. Really, she's been taking the national season by storm.
Yeah, and I think that Lexi's a pretty powerful hero, but we have seen like a good spread of heroes winning at nationals this year. Like we saw, we've even seen Reinar win a 32-person nationals event in Finland. So people be crazy, right? People be out there winning games with all sorts of different heroes. But Lexi does seem to be the kind of winner at the moment, kind of doing the best. It is a good hero. I think it's also a good hero across maybe a smaller number of rounds of CC, where there is a draft element involved. We saw at the calling, a lot of Lexis converted to day 2, but didn't make the top 8. The Lexi tech started to really power through in those later games of the round. However, we got a bit of time for you guys, and so there's no need to leave because it's a Tabletop 24 Push the Point Baz the Bard stream. So we got top quality content coming for you with interviews with some of the players coming right up. So do not go anywhere. You get to hear directly from the players who'll be playing this crazy game that we call Flesh and Blood. So stick around, and we'll be right back with an interview and then game number 2.
Hi, welcome back to the UK Nationals at Leeds Royal Armoury. I'm Baz the Bard. I've been joined by Liam Cannon, the winner. Yep. Smartest trousers in the whole
Worst
of
handshakes, smartest trousers.
People are like, what are you talking about? Smartest trousers. You'll stand up and show everybody.
All right.
Look at that.
Got the...
Look at them. the newest. These are new for the UK Nationals, aren't they?
Absolutely. You just wait till tomorrow. Got some.
Have you got another new pair?
Yeah, I've got a few. Gotta dress to impress today.
Well, I'll try.
Yeah, absolutely. Always sharp. I have to compete, so.
Yeah, indeed. You got your lucky socks on, yeah?
Sure.
So that was. We knew it was going to be a pretty fast game. You hadn't really played that match. Like you had a pre-chat with George. You were just like, I've not really played that one.
No, I mean, if I'm honest, I've not really played much Lexi, to be
Right,
honest.
okay.
But I'm generally more of a bad deck player. It's like,
I don't know. You play Kano and you play it really cleanly.
yeah.
I was expecting you to be Kano today. When you said I'm Lexi, I was like, oh, okay. But you practice with George, don't you? George Jones.
Yeah, well, the Manchester lot. Yeah, so I've spoken to George a lot. Yeah, he's been a big help because he's very knowledgeable when it comes to the Ranger class, especially Lexi. So it's helped to have people to kind of feed ideas to me and like pick up things. So I think the Lexi deck is in a way very kind of cut and dry as it is.
Mm-hmm.
So there's not a lot that really needs to be done for it. Just kind of how you use the cards. So.
Yeah, she has changed a little bit because at the beginning of this season, Lexi dominated. Then we saw Icelander come in.
Yeah.
And then she wasn't really translating to get into the top 8, especially in the UK. When you look at US, it's slightly different. But it has adapted. Like this, you've now got the winter's bites and there's a bit more ice
I think
in
that
it.
the biggest thing is that people were a bit slow, I think, to adapt to trench as like a way to deal with warmongers diplomacy. So I think early on you'd see a lot of. Also, I think the Alexi decks weren't respecting Icelander enough with maybe their AB. They would think, I don't need, AB2 or Spell Void or something like that. A lot of the time, they were kind of just going kind of naked into Icelander and they're getting punished for that. But once you get to a point where you kind of, you give them enough respect, then the matchup kind of flips to being very, very hard for Iceland. I think if Alexi, I think the thing with Lexi at the moment is that if it gives any matchup any kind of like notice, then it gets a lot harder for that deck. So
You during the game, you managed to keep on top of George. Like you played the Warmongers first turn, but you still, you managed to get through it. You just chose war. You actually drew quite well into it.
yeah.
But you didn't.
Well, actually, my hand was not that great because I kept the 3 of a kind. So obviously, when he plays Warmongers, it's kind of bad then. But and I drew I had 2 blues and a red, so my turn was kind of low par. But because he played the Warmongers, he's not coming at me with a 5-card hand. He's only coming at me with like a normal 4-card hand. And because I have the 3 of a kind in my arsenal, I can block a bit and come back into the game. I think it would have been harder if he had a 5-card hand and I would have had a bad hand. But then obviously and he did Warmongers me. But then the 3 of a kind would have kind of got me out of that as well, which is just the power of the card itself.
Yeah. There was one point where you played a 3 of the kind mid-turn, and it was like, oh, that's a bit strange. And then you played that Rustling Leaves, and that came through to you, and you saw George just go, oh God, you know what I mean? Your deck was firing really well. You had the right cards at the right time. In the post-game chat, George said that he was trying to hold on to the cards, and then you sort of you played the Codex and you completely messed up his next sort of big clapback because he had Lava Burst. Like when you maintained it, you didn't let up. I mean, you can't let up against Fog.
No, I think
all.
when you get to that point with Lexi where they don't have the capacity to hold 4-card hands because your damage potential is just so high that you get to a point where they just they have to concede cards, and then Fi is a much worse deck on 2 cards than you are. Also, just in the sense that because you are taking cards from their hand, they don't take cards from you, so you just get to fire 2 arrows every turn, and everyone's a break point. And so it's just relentless. Once I saw all 3 flick flacks, I knew that eventually I would kill him because he would draw a war. I mean, I could draw blues, but even my blues are threatening because they require at least a card, and then the 1-cost arrows can be break points if on the last hit of Voltaire. So it's eventually, I think that because of the fact that I drew so many of the power cards early, it kind of meant that I kind of dictated the pace of the game, really.
Yeah, and Codex allows you to refresh him anyway, doesn't it?
It's
draw,
crazy.
Draw your power cards early and get your Codex.
Well, that's it. I saw all 3 Heat Seekers at the start, and then that's cards, one of the most important cards in the deck, especially for keeping up. And so when they're all gone, it's you only really have Codexes to get them back, and obviously I saw 2 of them, so I really saw 5 Heat Seekers, really, so it's great.
Nice, brilliant. I wish you all the best. Are
Thank
you all
you.
prepared for draft?
Yeah, I guess. I was more comfortable with draft coming into this. I've played 5 games of Lexi, so I think I said before, but like, so I definitely played more draft, but still, like, with Monarch draft, you don't know how it's gonna go.
But you were around for the original one.
No, I started after the first nationals, so around
Right.
Tails. So, but I do love Monarch. It's one of my favorite sets. So
Nice, brilliant. I wish you all the very best,
you very
Liam.
much.
Hopefully we'll see you again.
yeah,
All right.
I hope so too.
Stay tuned with more interviews to come. Yeah, and get ready for game 2.